Well, I look at it myself as the beginning, really, of an exploration. That's the reason we're exploring. You don't know what you'll run into on an exploration. What the sky looks like, what the stars look like. Do they still twinkle, or are they a steady light when you get outside the atmosphere?
My upbringing was, it's funny when you look back at your upbringing when you're actually brought up, right? My mother was a costume designer. My dad was a lawyer. We lived in Wellesley, Massachusetts, where there were about 3 Jews, and my sister and I were 2 of them. And we went to public school. I got my first pony when I was 9. But there was always something, and I think creative people will say this all the way down the line. There was always something sort of gnawing at me that I always felt a little different than other kids, than other people. And I think that's the start of the journey towards finding out who you are, is that gnawing, that am I really supposed to be in this school with these people in this place? And you know, that's sort of the time you press the go button. The thing about being Jewish in places where there aren't a lot of Jewish kids, when families describe you, they always use the word Jewish. Oh, you know, the Jewish family. They're so creative. The Jewish family, the Beckers down the road. So, you know, I grew up really up until I moved to New York when I was in my mid-30s. So let's go Boston, Washington, D.C. You know, I was always not in a big tribe of my fellow Jewish sisters and brothers. And it does make a difference. It really does. I think there's community. And I think there's acceptance. And really, when I went to American University, that's when I met my first, you know, big batch of Jewish kids in 1980. And my father used to call me a Japet, a Jewish American princess in training. He said I wasn't there yet, but I was on my way. And getting to American, it was hysterical after being in this little town with horses and, you know, outside Boston with all these non-Jewish kids. So that was a big awakening. But it was also nice. It's also nice to be invited to people's homes for Passover, and there is and will always be a community of like-mindedness when you're with other Jewish kids or whatever. But when I graduated from college and went to start my production company in Washington, D.C., you know, that's when the Republicans and the WASPs came out in force. So I have lived through lots of that, and I would say that what I will always go back to is when you feel comfortable with yourself is when you feel like you're really going home. The first great fitness book was by the one and only Jane Fonda. And I saw her body and I went, well, hello. And so I got the book. I was a freshman in college and I started teaching all of these Jewish American princesses aerobics. So I got into it selfishly and stayed in it for the finances, and I will tell you that most of those finances went right up my nose because this was the 80s in college. But the fitness bug got me, and what got me even more is that I was sort of starting to find my true voice, and my true voice has a microphone. So that's how it started. Fitness, Jane Fonda, American University, high impact aerobics, lycra leotards, and we were off and running. I studied broadcast journalism in college, which basically means like I could have studied flower cutting with all that I really did with it. But what I did discover in college, starting this aerobics program and making money off the students, is that entrepreneurialism was my calling. I didn't care what I did. I just knew I didn't want to work for anybody doing it. So my first job out of college, I worked for a production company that actually was discovered through the Ed Sullivan Show. And people used to watch the Ed Sullivan Show and see all these great acts come on and say, hey, can Chevrolet or whatever, can we book them for our meeting? So I worked for a company that did show business for business. You know, if Sting, if a brokerage house wanted Sting to perform, I would book Sting, do the sound, lighting, staging. If we were going to create a Blues Brothers ballroom, I would do all the decor, sound, lighting, book Jim Belushi and his band, or Dan Aykroyd. So it was a really exciting live event production for business. So think about your bar mitzvah, but the people in the audience work for, Apple, if you will. So after getting fired from most of my jobs, I decided that at 23 years old, I would start my own production company, which my mother named Comet Productions for Halle's Comet. For me, it was very tragic, the sort of shift and awakening. My assistant for 9 years was diagnosed with AIDS, and he passed away. And it was very, very, very poignant for me. He was everything to me, except my, lover and partner. He was the greatest man I ever met. His name was John Mignon. Our last days together were when Bill Clinton was getting inaugurated, and it was when Ryan White and Michael Jackson. AIDS was really in the forefront. I actually lost 2 employees to AIDS. And there was a stirring in me. I was very, very successful. And what I did was I left. I just left. I was in DC with my company. I left for the summer and I went on a spiritual journey through British Columbia. And then I lived in Bali for a couple of months and this was back in '94 when a woman could travel by herself. You can't even imagine anything that we're hearing about now just didn't exist then. So the rumblings had started to occur. And when rumblings occur in any portion of your life, because things just don't seem to work anymore. And so I knew I needed a change. I just wasn't sure where that was going to come. The change ended up being a move to New York City, where I continued my production company for many years. I moved here in '97, and I just shuttered my production company really 2011 or 12. And yoga started coming up for me as a way to sort of heal from the inside out. I never ever thought I would be somebody who taught, but that's what ended up happening.
Yoga is absolutely for everyone and has healing powers for absolutely everyone. And there isn't anyone that shouldn't be on the mat because it will make you a better person inside and out. The journey is to find the teacher that speaks to you. And there are so many brilliant and beautiful teachers, and you'll find yours, and then you'll find your way.
Did fitness and my daughter save my life? Yeah, maybe. But I think you have to want to be saved first. I think you have to walk into the room. I mean, this is sort of, let's discuss the fact that I was a business person in the 80s and 90s. I developed a very, very strong addiction to cocaine. Let's just be real clear about that. And in the sense of my success, can I really actually say that I was a successful human when I had this addiction going on simultaneously to the rise of my star in the production industry or in the yoga industry? And yoga didn't really cross over my addiction at all. I had a pact that I would not walk into a yoga studio if I had used the night before. So I think, to answer the question, did adopting my daughter Maya from Russia, which I did, and becoming a yoga teacher, which I am, did that save my life? No, but it was certainly a more positive direction than where I was going. But the only person's feet that got me there were mine. Because I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. I was sick and tired of not living my authentic life. And this was a very, very important step towards doing so, is to really put myself in the hands of caring for other people and being accountable for that. So it was a long road for me, but I'm one of the lucky ones. I got out before it got me, because as you know and your classmates know, addiction has one goal, and that's to kill you. That's to take every bit of your soul and your body and just crush you down. And this isn't going to be a story about addiction. This is going to be a story about growth and change and purpose and career. But you can't go anywhere if you're stuck.
just yesterday morning they let me know you were gone. Suzanne, the plans they made put an end to you. I walked out this morning and I wrote down this song. I just can't remember who to send it to. I've seen fire and I've seen rain. I've seen sunny days that I thought would never end.